The FBI is increasing its surveillance on potential threats of Iran-backed terror plots in the United States after the Biden administration's open border policies put us all at risk.
There was a report, of over 1,500 Iranian nationals that have entered the country illegally over the last several years.
It's well over 1,000 have entered. Yes, I don't know if it's quite up to 1,500, but yes, it's well over 1,000 have entered our country. And I can tell you we are on high alert, and everyone is looking at that very closely.
So let's bring in former CIA operations officer and host of the Wright Report podcast, Brian Dean Wright. Good morning to you, Brian. Thanks for coming on.
Very good morning.
Good morning.
My
So,
pleasure.
yeah, this was a big story yesterday. 729 were released, Iranians, illegals, released into the United States under the Biden administration. So don't we have to assume among them there are terrorists in our country?
Well, I think that any reasonable person would. I mean, if you look at the broader number, 9 to 10 million that came across over the course of the Biden 4 years, even to just 0.1% of those turned out to be Iranians, whether they be declared or the gotaways, we have a problem. So I think that any reasonable person would say, yes, there is an illegal problem, either one declared or through the gotaways. Moreover, those individuals obviously traveled with other illegals who are desperately poor and in many cases are looking for money. Hezbollah does pay people to engage in criminality. We know that's true all across the world. We have a really horrific case down in Brazil where they paid a musician upwards of $100,000 who was a Brazilian man. They paid him $100,000 to go target Jewish people or Jewish targets in Brazil. So absolutely, Hezbollah is a very, very challenging, very dangerous threat. They create these sleeper cells. We know that they've done that in this country. 2017, 2019, we wrapped up 2 cells in New York and other places. So it's real. The threat is real. And it's not just the illegal migrant crisis. That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
But it is much, much bigger than that as well.
Well, Brian, we know that there are Iranian assassination squads. Do you know where they are? And is it inevitable that we'll be attacked?
Well, let's talk about where they are. We know that there are a lot of communities of people with Iranian backgrounds or Lebanese backgrounds in Los Angeles, throughout Michigan, New York City, unfortunately. So those are the places, in addition to Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area. I think my colleagues are looking at those 4 locations, the FBI looking at those 4 locations. Will we be hit? The real question here is who's protecting us? President Trump has promised to bring down hell and fury upon Tehran if they attack us in this country. That threat, I think, is what prevents this country from getting hit. So do we have these saboteur teams inside of this country? Yes, I think that is the answer. The question is, will they hit us? The Ayatollah and the regime are looking at President Trump and saying, if we do, we're gone. So that is what is protecting us, the wrath of President Trump. So I think we should all be very grateful for that man this morning.
Okay, Brian, also, the State Department's warning Americans that are traveling to Sweden that Iran might be directing affiliated criminal gangs to carry out attacks on American tourists. So is it safe to travel abroad? And are there any countries, Sweden, obviously, we're being warned, any other countries you'd advise people not to go to this summer?
Well, here's the bad news. Hezbollah has been operating throughout all of Europe over the past 3 or 4 years. We have examples of this in France, in Germany, the UK. Just back in May, we had 4 Iranians who came across the English Channel saying that they were asylum seekers, but in fact, they were Iranian saboteurs. They were there to kill Jewish people, blow up the Israeli embassy in London. We have that example, obviously, in Berlin, where the Berlin police chief has said you can't go into certain neighborhoods in Berlin if you are gay or Jewish, for example. And that is because of the Islamist threat more broadly. So we have our Iranian terror cells using criminal groups, by the way. It's not just Hezbollah. Iran will direct criminal cells throughout Europe to attack lots of different targets. And they use kids as young as 12 in Sweden, for example. So I can't tell you that there are specific countries that you should go to or not, because unfortunately, Iran, not only do they have the Hezbollah cells, or will they use cover of asylum seekers, but they will hire these kids as young as 12 to engage in criminality. These kids are connected to gangs. So bottom line, it's going to be a very, very dicey summer. And Europe doesn't have a President Trump to protect them. We do. We should be very grateful to that man.
Brian Dean Wright, thank you so much for coming on this morning.
Of course.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.